Have you ever wondered about how nutrients and pH can affect the plants you grow? The 8th grade students at Harrisburg North Middle School set out to figure just that. After various methods of learning, students were able to take the information they researched and create projects that benefited them the most. The innovator's mindset states that innovation is a way of thinking that creates something new and better. It was this innovation concept that led to a lesson in hydroponics. Not only were students given the opportunity to a hands-on approach, they also learned material that related to the real world. This enabled them to a higher level of thinking.
Part of the technology education curriculum is a module called Sustainable Agriculture. In this module, students watch a presentation listing the names of nutrients along with the different levels of pH. But this was not teaching the students information that was being applied to topics they could understand. This led to the purpose of the hydroponics lesson. Students needed a hands-on lesson in order to apply this material to real-world situations.
This is exactly the change that the Sustainable Ag module needed. Students now had the opportunity to make decisions with their own learning. They got to decide what was going to benefit them the most and still learn the material that they needed to.
George Couros states in The Innovator's Mindset that failure is an important part of the process. Having the freedom to fail is important, but even more so are the traits of resiliency and grit. As students utilize their own learning styles, they must also learn that failure is just their first attempt in learning. As leaders in education, our job is not to control those whom we serve, but to unleash their talent. If innovation is going to be a priority in education, we need to create a culture where trust is the norm. Students should feel comfortable in their learning styles in order to take chances and create new opportunities. Relationships are crucial for innovation. My first group of students decided that they wanted to create their own hydroponics system. They decided to do it on a smaller scale, so they started off by researching what kind of small scale equipment could they use. And an actual surprising find was that they could use a regular water bottle to create their system. All they had to do was begin by cutting the top off.
The next step was to create a pot for the hydroponics system. After some research, the group decided to use a piece of loofah and then use the ring from the water bottle to actually hold it in place. By cutting a hole in the styrofoam, it was used as a base for the pot component of the hydroponics system. As this project continued, students continued their research on what it took to create a thriving hydroponics system. Before planting the radishes, the group had to finish assembling their system. As you can see, putting the system together was fairly simple. The bigger challenge was figuring out the correct nutrients amounts in order for the system to be successful. Many of the groups used the classroom hydroponics system as part of their research. This group in particular used different equipment to measure temperature, the purity of water, and pH. Students were then able to take that information and convert it for their own setup. The next group of students chose to research and monitor the classroom hydroponics system for a few days. Once they understood the system and had some data collected, this group created a vlog explaining exactly what they learned. They were able to give visuals along with physical documentation of what they had learned throughout this research. This group of students chose to do a more traditional approach in their learning. They chose to research their hydroponics system and then create a presentation showing their classmates just what they had learned. They also had to research what it took to create a good presentation, so they had a lot more pictures and a lot less bullet points. Many teachers are used to the traditional way of teaching, where they get in front of the class and lecture the information. The innovator's mindset says that innovation is taking something and making it new and better. With this hydroponics lesson, I pushed to do just that. I gave students the standards they needed to learn, and they were able to choose a method that worked best for them. Students were able to be research, designers, creators, or anything that worked best for their style of learning, no matter what they got to decide. And if we want our teaching to change, that's exactly what needs to happen. We have to be the change in order for them to change.